DIBELS, which is called the Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills, is what every school in Missoula uses, and many schools across the nation. That's what they use. What I'm going to show you and what you'll use in the context of this course is something called AIMsWeb. So here's where you're going to stick with me, or this all gets really confusing. So DIBELS, even though they've started doing some math measures, they're primarily early literacy, right? AIMsWeb is more comprehensive. So DIBELS is built out of the logic behind, once again you'll be reading about this, but built out of the logic behind what's called curriculum-based measure, or CBMs. But it's only literacy. AIMsWeb has a lot more measures. And I'll show you what they have. But they have a similar measure to DIBELS that is their own AIMsWeb early literacy measure. They also have maze assessments. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that right now. But they have math, multiple different math assessments. They have a writing assessment and a spelling assessment. Both AIMsWeb and DIBELS also has a Spanish version of the early literacy measures, which is pretty cool. So my point is that AIMsWeb is more comprehensive, right? It covers more skills. I personally believe that as a special educator, when you get out into the field, that it's a very good investment that the last I knew, it cost you $100 to get access to AIMsWeb. That includes all the assessments in their data management system, which is what I'm going to show you, for like $100 a year, which is actually a really good deal. I would think any school would make that investment for you. So it's a really nice tool that would allow you to manage all of your caseload within this system. So this actually, it changes all the time, and in fact it just changed from a week or two ago when I logged on to now. So I logged in today and I was like, yeah. I mean, this hasn't changed that much, but the front of it, the front page has actually changed. So I may get a curveball here, but we'll deal with it. So first of all, what you're seeing here is pretty much the comprehensive AIMsWeb system. What you're going to see when you log on, you'll get your own password and stuff. That, you know, we do this. I think we're supposed to have student accounts, but we're lawbreakers because Kathy and I are completely crazy.
That's why we're in special.
Yeah, so you can just send us $30 checks, because we're saving. Just like last semester, no textbooks, just send me checks. So basically what you will see is from progress monitoring over, okay? What you're looking at here is the complete data management system. Now, this may seem a little crazy to you, but since I'm finishing my 10th year here, and you know, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't think as many of my students use curriculum-based measures as I would like. Unfortunately, it's not that this is the only way to do things, but I actually do very much believe it's the best way to do things. And unfortunately, what I see is a lot of students, not a lot, but some of my students go out into practice, and because there's a culture that doesn't include this sort of thing, they kind of go into the same old thing, right? Which is write your IEPs, do an assessment once a year, write an IEP again. Kids go in special ed when they're in 2nd or 3rd grade, and guess when they get out? Never. They're in special ed their whole life, And it's the same old thing, and it just really bugs me when I see former students who just slipped right into that, because that is not why I do what I do. You know, I do this to get people to do things different, because there is no reason to believe that we're going to keep doing things the same way and we're going to get different results. If you keep doing things the same way, you're going to get the same results, which means we're going to fail in special education, which means kids are going to go in, they're never going to come out, they're going to get worse instead of better. That's the short history of special ed. It's not to say we never help kids, we certainly do. Especially kids with significant disabilities. The advances we've made there are actually amazing and profound, and you'll learn much more about that from Morgan and others. But for kids with high incidence disabilities, sometimes it's quite depressing to know that the history, hopefully it's getting better, but the history is that kids get put into special ed when they don't need to be, and they never come out. That's depressing. Yes?
My daughter is one of those.
Uh-huh.
She needed help with reading, severe help with reading, and I've never been able to get her out.
Uh-huh.
And we're going on 2.5 years, and the IEP just comes around every year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's she's still pulled out from class, and she's at an age, she's in 5th grade, and so it's becoming really detrimental socially as
Mhm.
well. It is not only I think her lack of confidence is also contributing to
Mhm.
the fact that why her reading, she just doesn't feel confident whatsoever. So I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to get her out. You know,
Right.
It doesn't matter how much we study, you know, we push it and we push it, and you can only push a child so far.
Yeah.
Before, you know, you're gonna get some tears.
Yeah, sure. And you know, don't mistake what I'm saying. You know, a lot of kids, it's a very good thing. It's a very necessary thing. But we need to be using our time wisely in school. And when students are not receiving, when they're put in special education, which is specialized instruction, I mean, that's the short definition of special education, it should be having an impact, and our goal should be that special ed for kids with things like reading disabilities should be a very short-term thing. Give them what they need, they make improvements, and they get out. That standard is rarely applied, because we just go through procedures instead of setting clear and specific goals for kids. To meet those goals, which means they've made enough improvement, they're doing just as well as most of their peers. They don't need specialized instruction. Now, if you can step away from that personally and look at it professionally, there's also an issue of efficiency, whether we're talking about time or resources. We can't sustain a model where we put upwards of 20% of kids into special education and give them so-called specialized instruction, right? The number needs to be much smaller. It needs to look much more like the naturally occurring number of people with disabilities in the general public, which is somewhere around 6 or 7, not 12 or 15 or 16 or 20, and sometimes even higher numbers of kids in special ed. So it's not to say we don't need specialized instruction. Personally, I don't think we need to call it special ed. We just need to give kids what they need. And so all that gets really complicated. If you take law and policy from me, you'll get more information about it than you probably ever cared to have. But, we need to give kids what they need, and we need to look at special education as a short-term thing when we need to. Better yet, we never put them in special ed. We give them what they need as soon as we know they need it, which can happen as early as kindergarten. And it can actually happen much earlier than that. So if we can identify kids and their needs early, that's when we can make the most difference.